no establishments of the country. And we need to have some sort of legislative office or house to be there. If we have the Shura, the parliament first went out, vanished, no existence of it. We'll wait for the new elections to take place in 3 or 4 months to come. And then we have the Shura Council again diminished, went out. So we have no Shura, no parliament, no house is there. So how would we have a country ruling, or a president ruling a country without those wings that would help him to have legislations in the country? I think that the Supreme Constitutional Office and people need to have another say, need to have a reconsideration of the whole issue. I think they have to put politics aside, to have their own judiciary efforts and effectiveness for the sake of the country, for the construction of the country. But to have the 2 houses of legislation diminished in less than a year will put the country in a chaos, in sort of unrest again, because of the judiciary.
Right. But doesn't the presidential statement today, doesn't it bring again to head the situation, intensify, or perhaps even worsen or aggravate the situation between, the standoff between some of the judges in Egypt and the presidency?
I think it will, and I'm positive there will be some sort of confrontation again, similar to the confrontations that the president had with the same Supreme Constitutional Office. But I think that in this case, there should be a stand, and it has to be very firm from the presidential office to have a word to say as a president. The discussion over the law in the Shura Council needs to be stopped, to postponed, or what? There are certain ways of getting out of the whole issue, but I think that the confrontation is there, and it has been there over the past 7 or 8 months. Confrontation between the club and the presidency, between the club and the Shura Council, between the club and the every institution in the country. They are supreme. They are having a word higher than any word in the country. When they come to discuss the law of those people, of the judges, they started moaning and saying that no, it's a red line here and nobody can cross it. Nobody can come and discuss this but the judges themselves. Right. This is fair and good. But if you give the same right to other people, to other institutions, to other factions in the community, or any parts of the government, the executive parts of the government, would you give them to university professors who I belong to? Will you give us to make our own laws, issue them and discuss them, and get the president or the Shura Council or the parliament issue them according to our own objectives and aims? Or I would say, in quotes here, whims. It's whimsical then, because I would see things that I don't see for others. But if we have sort of equality, why don't we have to have this equality for all people, for all Egyptians then? Not for the judges only and their sons and grandsons to be there in this particular arena, and leaving other people, the poor people, not to get into it or to step into it because they have been prevented over the past 50 or 60 years, and you're preventing them again. I think there should be some sort of reconstruction of the whole issue, especially when it comes to the Supreme Constitutional Court. Right.
Mr. Sharif, if I come to you, are you in agreement with what Dr. Shaker is saying?
Totally in disagreement, actually. Right. First of all, it reminds me of what Hamlet said once. I've wasted time, and now time is wasting me. We're wasting time. So the whole country is wasting time. The whole thing is upside down. The Shura Council that we're talking about is only elected by 7% of the people, and they don't even basically have the right to legislate.
Right.
So this is exceptional time for them. So they shouldn't take like great decisions like that what they are up to now. And I mean, the urgent issues in Egypt, nobody is tackling. So like pollution issue, education issue, the salaries, the minimum wages, the maximum wages. I mean, the very important issue that people in the street are actually suffering from, nobody's talking about. It's a kind of conflict situation. So the president is in conflict with everybody in Egypt, like the Minister of Culture, the Minister of Media, the media people, with everybody. And if you kind of ask people in the street, nobody's satisfied. Performance-wise, I'm not talking here about where the president belongs. He belongs to the Muslim Brotherhood, to the Liberal Party. Nobody cares.
Right.
What really people care about in the street, the performance. I mean, like electricity is being cut off every now and then, and they don't have a plan. And this happened like last year, and it was kind of warning. So the president should have worked for a year now to solve the problem, to kind of telling us what exactly he's got in mind. We don't have a plan about education. We don't have a plan about electricity. We don't have a plan about business. The business people are running away from the country. Tourism is getting really bad.
Right.
Like in Aswan, people are complaining about the horses don't have food. So I mean, we got very serious problem, and the Shura Council is discussing ballet. Come on, it's absurd. Like we got those people to talk about the judges, talk about the courthouse. They are not qualified. They have to know that straight-wise. So
well, then what Dr. Sharif, what Dr. Shekhar, I beg your pardon, is saying, he's saying really that, you know, keeping the Shura Council intact is important. How did you read the presidency's statement today? It's
kind of manipulation. It's only manipulation. Nobody's caring about Egypt. So if they really care about the country, they would have done something on the ground. But they are just it's a kind of conflict about power. So it's we want to get the power. The Shura Council, they are not sure that we'll win in the next elections, the parliament election, so they postpone it. It's not like 3-4 months as Dr. Shakir mentioned. It could be more than that. Hopefully, we don't know anything about it, and even the techniques and the technicalities of starting the parliament elections are not very clear and are not right. So it might be also go back again to the constitutional courthouse, and it's a cycle. We don't know what's going on.
Right.
So when they produce a kind of law to us, they have to make sure it's correct. So we don't want it to go to the people and then to go back to the court, the constitutional courthouse. So it's a kind of cycle that will never end with it. So I don't see any hope in that.
Right. But what about, do you think that today's statement by the presidency could bring to head the situation between the judiciary or some judges and the presidency once again?
Yeah, it's a cycle, because the president is not clear, and he does not give us one statement, and he sticks to it. So he promised the judges that the Shura Council will not discuss the law, but then after like 1 week, they started discussing the law. Very strange, isn't it?
Right. Well, will the ruling have any effect on the Shura Council debates with regards to legislations and so on? Or
they will go on with their plan. It's a plan.
Right.
So they want to get rid of 3,500 judges. It's clear. They don't like what they come up with. So they will never stop. It's kind of manipulation. They stop for a while, and then they get back. So they only have a plan in mind, and they are kind of heading with it.
Right. So how did you see the sit-in, as the report pointed out, by 30 judges from the Judges Club? How do you see that particular move? And do you think that such a sit-in could actually result in the law not being discussed further at the Shura Council?
But let's first discuss statistically how popular the president has become and the Muslim Brotherhood group. So the popularity has diminished, and actually they confessed that. And that's the Tamarrud movement is kind of reaction. It's not pro-action.
Right.
So it's a reaction to what's happening in the street. Like all the problems that people are suffering from, the daily life problem. I'm not talking about politics here. People don't care who is the president. They care about daily life problems, the prices, to find an apartment, to find a job, to find security in the street. Security till now is not quite clear. Like last week, there had been many kidnaps in Minya, Governorate. So every now and then we hear about something which is really frightening to people. And the tourism industry is still, people are suffering, lots of people are losing jobs. They are not doing anything about it.
Right.
Except the 50 people from Iran that come from now and then. I don't know what this is.
Right. Dr. Shekhar, you seem to be
I was jotting notes
you're
again.
Jotting notes as
and
usual.
if my colleague is totally disagreeing with what I said at the very beginning of answering your question, actually, he didn't answer your question that you asked again concerning the statement that the president made. But anyway, I totally disagree to what he said.
Right.
And he mentioned that statistically, and no statistics has been given to us, and we don't have any source of authentic statistics to be given. One thing is that we have a Shura Council. Whether we have 7% of the people or the voters going to the ballot box and getting those people who are representing the community, the whole country, it's a percentage, and we have a house there. So we shouldn't say that it doesn't represent the country. Right. It does represent the country, whether it is 7% or 50%. This is what he said. But Mr. Sharif also did note something that was important, which was that the Shura Council was given legislative powers, which it doesn't originally I come to
have.
this.
Okay.
I have this in here.
Right.
We have the Constitution, and we have a sort of a referendum on it, and we have got a 65% agreeing to the Constitution, right? 60%, I wouldn't say 63. Right. 60% plus, whatever, 50 plus 1%, it's a percentage that agrees to the Constitution. One article in the Constitution gives the Shura Council the legislation which is, my colleague disagrees to, for the moment until we have a parliament elections taking place in the country, because we cannot have a country without a legislative house. Right. Is there any country in the world without a legislative house? So this is an answer back to what he said. Coming to the performance of the president and to the cabinet, we always say, and we say that the opposition parties, and I would say in the plural, see the negative side. They don't see the positive side. They don't even announce the positive side. They are talking about education, and we have a full description of it. I belong to the education system, and I work with the two ministers of education, the education and the higher education ministers. They have very good plans for the country, for the sake of the country. When it comes to agriculture, we can see the wheat crop, and we see how vast and the percentage of getting self-sufficient for the country, which exceeds 40% of last year and the years before, which comes from where? Does it come from the void? It does come from the performance of the country. The hostility that the president is making for the whole people here in the country. Who is making hostility there? Who is making the unrest and the chaos of the country? Who is protesting against the president every day?
But protesting is the right of every